This is the .NET Dev Show. We are going to talk about .NET, but we also want to be cool. We want to be cool like the cool kids that Catherine hangs out with. We want to do some fun, styling things. We're going to begin with something that our friends over at Visual Studio Live are up to. This episode of .NET Dev Show is brought together with, partnering up with the Visual Studio Live folks. They put on some amazing, amount of content, both virtual and in person. They do a lot of, virtual training sessions. These are 2-day, 3-day, week-long at times. Or you can come and join for the real, value is often networking. You can come join any of the in-person events. They do several across the country. We had one in Las Vegas. Then the next one that's coming up is in Chicago, Windy City, end of mid-spring. It should be really nice. End of April, early May. Lots of good speakers, lots of great content. The next thing that's coming up, if Chicago doesn't work for you, is Microsoft HQ. We're going to be in Seattle on Microsoft campus. And then the big one is in Orlando that's coming up in November. That's actually a combination of several conferences together. So whichever one suits your boat, if you want to come and hang out with some folks who are passionate about the .NET ecosystem, a lot of Microsoft folks, and you want to learn from what's latest and greatest, come and join any of the Visual Studio Live events. And to sweeten the deal, they did give us a little promo here. So use this code NetDevShow, and you get a hefty chunk off your in-person event sign up. So register, come and join us. It's a good time. Let's start talking about kind of maybe where we left off. So I brought Catherine in 2 weeks back, I think, right? To teach me some CSS. So if you are doing .NET MAUI, which I'm big into that world. So this is for all things native. So native mobile apps for iOS or Android, native desktop apps for Windows and Mac OS. And if you happen to have teams that are, doing web apps, then they're likely styling them with CSS. It's not a very, common fit, but you can. Yeah, I mean, we tinkered a little bit. Like this is the official, docs. Microsoft Build is coming up. That's why the promo is late May. So a lot of AI, a lot of dev, a lot of business, type apps. So come and join Microsoft Build if you want to come to Seattle in May. And I think they're also doing virtual as well. So this is an option. You could reuse some of your CSS styles. There are certain limitations to variables and some things that you cannot do, but these are the official docs. If you do a search like I did, you might also end up on this post here by my good friend Diomaris, and she does a great job, boiling it down exactly what you need to do. Here are the limitations. So we kind of looked at this last episode, and it works. Again, probably not something that a lot of people do, but Catherine helped me out, limp along. It kind of works. So
yeah, we got there mostly. Yeah.
Oh, actually, now I remember. We left off something because I was trying to show you something that just did not work. So let's go back and start there again. So let's do. Where's my app? Because once you're in the native world, there are things that fall apart quickly if you do not follow the rules. Especially in Apple's walled garden, you need to have your, so every app package, and this is good for privacy, this is good for trust. It needs to be signed by some certificates. You need to have some provisioning profiles. So the last time around I was trying to show you this, it blew up because I had messed up my certificates. So if you're doing a straight up .NET MAUI app and you have some XAML, for example, let's just look at any XAML here. Like this here is my list of, issues coming from a newsletter type, thing that I do. So this is straight up XAML. And if you have, native UI like this is all native UI across iOS, Android, Windows, and Mac. You could take some CSS and you can have some classes and you can, style that native UI with CSS. So that's doable. But I am doing something actually a little bit different where I'm pulling down some content. from a CMS, and I'm trying to render that as web UI. So I do have some styles here, but I actually have it as a raw file, some CSS here. Let's actually run this, and then I'll talk through what exactly I'm doing here. Let's see. Here's my iPhone Pro. So let's run it on a simulator. So at this point, it does a full native build, goes and talks to Xcode, signs the app package if you're deploying to devices, but otherwise this should just come up on your simulators. Same for Android as well. And so essentially in this app, you have a list of, issues for all the Sands of Maui, content. This is just a list. I'm still working on, styling it a little bit better. But once I tap on it, this is where you get to see the actual, the HTML that's coming in from the CMS.
Mhm.
Like this is the chunk of the body of the, the content without any of the header, anything else, because that goes up on our blog. So let's pull that up. So if I head up here, let's look at like this last one here. So if you look at this web page, which has all of the other things like the banners, the categorization, I don't want any of that. I just want my content, because it doesn't make
Yes.
sense to have all of this other things, right? So what I'm pulling down is literally a div tag with everything from here and down, right? So that's what I'm pulling down. So if I look at the same type of issue, so I get the HTML, but then I build the DOM around it. And this one is super simple. I'm not doing much. I just have some images, some text, and some links, and that's about it. So the way I'm doing it, and maybe Catherine here, you can have some suggestions here. The only styles that I really have is just making sure the images are nice and centered. They're not running off the screen.
Mhm.
I didn't mess with anything else. I have a HTML builder class. Let's look into that. So this one is just let's bump up the fonts here a little bit. This one's just building up the doc type. The viewport, I'm just using the device width, initial scale. So you can still, pinch and zoom around if you want to read more,
Mhm.
zoomed in. And then this Maui asset thing is essentially the CSS that I'm reading up. And this issue content is the exact HTML that comes down from the cloud. And I just wrap everything up into one DOM. And then I say, hey, web view, go and render this. That's essentially my game. So for a piece of web content that I'm rendering on a mobile or a desktop device, are there any things that I should do differently? Any particular styles? Anything I should do?
Hmm. I don't know if there's anything you need to do. If you wanted to clean it up a little, I think my suggestions right off the bat would be to give yourself a little bit more space and a little more breathing room between the edges of the text and the edges of your
I see.
machine, right?
Okay.
So you go right up to the edge.
Yeah.
We actually know a little bit about like it when lines are too long or when things are too close, we have trouble our eyes
Yeah.
tracking to
Yeah.
like find the beginning of the next line. So I'd maybe give things a little bit more,
Okay.
maybe set yourself a margin or some
Yeah.
padding on your
Yeah.
body.
Yeah,
Um,
that's doable. So let me show you how that's being rendered, and then I can just put a margin around it. Issue detail view. Okay, so there's
mhm.
a busy indicator, which is essentially while I'm fetching that piece of content. This one was cached, so it was quick.
It's
While
just a loading
yeah,
thing,
just
right? Yeah.
loading thing, and then all there is to it is just a web view. This web
Yeah.
view is a smart UI component that says, hey, I'm on iOS, so let me give you the WebKit web view, or I'm on Mac, let me give you the WK. If you're on Windows, you get the Edge web view.
Mhm.
It's a web view that knows how to render HTML, CSS. So like right in here, I can, give it some, boundaries, some more
Yeah, yeah.
padding. Yeah.
The diff
But otherwise, like if I tap on any links, it still stays in the app. I don't want it to go off to the device browser. It still stays in there, and the back button works. But are there any
Mhm.
other accessibility or styling things I should be doing?
I mean, accessibility wise, it's probably fine. There's nothing more accessible than like plain old HTML
Yeah,
that we haven't done
yeah,
anything to.
yeah.
That's the dream. The only thing I can think of is if you wanted to change your font up. right? Because I think
Okay.
right now you've got kind of a default serif
Mm-hmm.
style, and that sometimes can feel a little dated because we all associate that with like completely unstyled
Yeah.
raw HTML, right? If you were to just load an HTML page and it doesn't have any styling, that's that's the font it defaults to.
Yeah.
There's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's not difficult to read or anything, so you don't
Yeah.
have to change it.
Yeah.
But swapping it up could make it look just a little more polished if you were looking
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. And I think in there, I have to figure out exactly how I do this. So here's how fonts work in .NET MAUI. It's actually super easy. So they do everything shared now. So there's a fonts
Mhm.
folder, and in here you can drop any of your font families, including any type of variations of your fonts, and everything is wired up here in MAUI
Oh, yeah.
program.cs. So we just
And
register
you've
the
already got
fonts. Yeah.
open sans in there, it looks like, so you could just apply that.
Well, I have open sans, but the but is this font is to be used by all of the native UI. So
Okay.
essentially, if I come back, like this is the font that
Mhm.
this one is. I don't know a way to hand over that font down to the web view because the web
Interesting.
view is utilizing the HTML. So maybe as I'm building up the HTML DOM, can fonts be embedded in an HTML document
No, generally they're imported into the CSS file.
into the
So,
CSS? Oh,
I
I
guess
got
it must be
CSS.
possible, right? Because if you nest your CSS tag within, like, the HTML, if you don't have a separate, it must be possible. It's not usually how it's done, but I don't see any
Yeah,
reason why we couldn't.
but what if you are pulling this up on a device that doesn't have that font family installed? Like, how can I force
Mhm.
it down? Because like
Hmm.
this is where I'm building up the entire HTML DOM. So I can do it in the
Right.
CSS, I can do it in the HTML, uh, and
I'm
and
gonna
yeah, and this
Google
this
my
font here, this is packaged up like I have it in the app package, like it's a part of the app package, so I can
It's been a while since I've done this because this tends to not be like a best practice on the web, right?
yeah.
Is that when you're on the web, you use web fonts. So you're not
Wait,
generally
what are
referencing
web
like
fonts?
um so rather than necessarily having to like if you've ever used Google Fonts,
Yeah,
right? You can just kind of copy that like link to import
okay,
directly into your file.
sure.
So you're not necessarily like adding a file to the bundle that gets created when you're building an app.
Yeah, but I
You're
mean,
just
I can
referencing
do
where
the
it's
same,
listed
right? I can do
somewhere
the
else.
same. If
Let's do that.
somebody, yeah, because if somebody, I mean, I don't need to do it right now, but I mean, if somebody is pulling down the fonts from Google or anybody else, hosting the font, I can do the same
Well, let's
in
do
my
yeah,
DOM.
Open Sans is for sure a Google font.
Yeah,
So that seems way easier than trying to mess with like
yeah,
embedding or passing down
yeah.
the actual font
Okay,
files, which is something I'm not super familiar
yeah,
with to
okay.
level with you.
All right. So what I heard is give it a little bit more breathing space with margins and change up the fonts, make it a little bit more readable.
Yeah, especially I hadn't noticed until you went back and looked at the other page that the font was different. So I
Yeah,
think you'll
yeah.
definitely want
The
that
font is
continuity
different. Yeah,
between the two. I
right,
think that
right.
would be nice.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Otherwise, where did the simulator go? Oh, I closed it. But otherwise, like I have the app mostly working, but
Yeah.
it's the simulators only go as far. Then you have to deploy it to real devices, make sure nothing catches fire.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, so I'll polish this up, but let's take the next step here a little bit, because I know you are a big fan of this thing called Theme Builder and theming. So
Yes.
tell me about it. So let's close some
Uh,
of this down.
I do love ThemeBuilder. ThemeBuilder is a styling tool that we've created as part of the like Telerik UI UX tools that allows you to style actually not just our components anymore, but also some of the like basic HTML elements that you would use without necessarily needing a component. So things like your headers or a list element, all of that can be styled through the theme builder as well. So it's really kind of become a hub for you to create a full UI design system. It's no code if you don't want to be coding. So you can go through, you don't have to actually write any CSS. You can use these drop downs there's a menu that lets you like drill down into like each, individual element within a component. So if you're using a grid component that has a drop down, you can dial it all the way down into that drop down, make changes, and it'll update real quick. It's like a WYSIWYG style editor. So you don't necessarily have to be super comfortable or super fluent in CSS to make really specific, really deep changes. And
Okay.
then it will export all of the CSS for you.
Hmm.
And you can just
Let's use it.
drop that right in.
Yeah. Okay. I also see Figma. Figma kits. That's just an import thing from Figma. Like that could be a starting point.
Yeah. So if, for example, you were working with a designer who had a mock-up of your app already built in Figma, right? And they'd already chosen their colors and they'd already set like, I don't know, the values for rounded corners, maybe on buttons or, whatever. All of those get saved in Figma as what's called design tokens, and those get applied to the design. What ThemeBuilder does is pulls those tokens from a Figma file if you set up the import, and then adds those as basically CSS variables within ThemeBuilder or Sass variables. And you can apply them to different parts of the components. It makes it really easy to like have a direct map between what's already been built in Figma and what you're turning into code.
Okay. All right. So, folks, if you want to get started here, I'm going to have Catherine backing me up because I'm going to be very lost here. But Telerik.com, whack ThemeBuilder. That's where you can get started. You'll have to sign up to get in. So it's a subscription thing. So use it for what you need it. So I should be in here. Let me get in. Oh, it's doing the single sign-on thing. Yeah, I have quite a few of these accounts, but let's get in with this one.
I never remember my password when I'm typing it live.
Yeah,
I'm honestly really impressed.
I have a few, but that one I use quite a bit for my Telerik and Candy stuff. Okay, so blank canvas. I have nothing else going on. As you can tell, I have not done much with it. Catherine's probably looks like 20 projects, but
Mine's a mess. Yeah.
yeah. All right, let's start here. So create new project. Oh, I'm presented with some popular design systems.
Yeah, so if you're already using something like Material, or actually probably be Fluent for you, right? That's the Microsoft one.
Yeah,
Is the one you're more likely to be using.
right.
You can go ahead and click on those. That will basically start you off with their
Gotcha.
like preset colors, or like, the button styles, whether there's drop downs, whether the
Okay.
corners are rounded. So you could start with those. If you want to do something completely from scratch, I recommend starting with the Kendo default.
Okay.
And you can overwrite any of them, so
So
it's not a big deal what you start with.
yeah, okay.
So,
So this default and this classic, these are Kendo style,
yeah.
essentially.
Yeah, those are ours.
Kendo classic, and
Um,
then Bootstrap, Material, Fluent. Okay. And SVG versus font icons. Do you have a preference?
SVG, I think, is generally, uh, easier, right? They'll be a little bit crisper, they'll scale a little bit
Hmm.
better. And there's some security thing that I'll admit to you I'm not well versed in,
Yeah.
that has to do with basically importing, extra font files, and a security risk with kind of having to grab another external file, which you
Okay.
don't necessarily have to do because SVGs can be embedded directly. So
Gotcha. Okay.
depending, but some people have already an existing. If you have um, a font icon library that's already built, you can import that.
Okay.
So we keep that just in case that's something that you've already established. Font icon libraries were super popular for a very long time. Lots of people have those built up. So
Gotcha. Okay. And at this point, like this is not asking about what type of app that you're creating, right? It can be anything.
yeah, anything generally web based. So it'll be interesting to
How
this will
do
be
I
a fun
bring it in?
experiment.
Yeah. So I mean, once you have your styles and your themes set up and your design system right, you would then export this into your app, right? And for that, I mean,
Yeah.
give me a second. Uh, Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to cough in your ears, or if anyone
Thanks.
is listening. Yeah, well, I drank like half a bottle of cough syrup this morning because I'm like, I have
Oh,
meetings.
no.
Oh, Catherine and me have both had early starts to the day, so we are a little jaded.
Are
Uh,
you sick on top of that, though?
yeah,
Because
a
that's
little bit.
worse.
No,
You
I
win
just
that
yeah, no, I
or
didn't
lose.
want to lose my meeting or any other stream, voice.
Mm,
So okay, so you would likely do this in React, while I would likely do this in Blazor if I was doing a .NET, web-based
yeah.
app. So let's call this Blazor Fluent. I don't know. I think Blazor actually starts off using Bootstrap, but this might be a good test to like swap it out and change
I'll
something
also
else.
throw out there though that like while we're making that differentiation, ThemeBuilder does not. So if you were to build
Okay.
this, even if you called it Blazor Fluent, right,
Yeah.
it's just going to export
Sure.
CSS or Sass.
CSS, and you can use
So
it in Angular, React, Vue, whatever it is that you have.
right.
Made.
So
Okay.
if you had something that you started in Blazor and then you had another team that starts building a different app over in React and
You
you
can still
want them
use
to
it.
feel like part of the same system,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is perfect for
Yeah,
that.
but I'm going to call it Blazor Fluent because I'm purist. I don't want
Yeah, 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 yeah.
JavaScript.
I just had to shout it out.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'm in. This is looking busy and a lot of stuff. What's this? Import styles from Figma. Is that the thing that you're talking about?
Yeah, so again, if you had a Figma file already, so
Which
you
I
see
don't.
on that like left-hand side, you can see all those colors and like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's fonts and there's, all of those could have been hypothetically imported from Figma if you had a Figma file that had them defined. So in our case, we're
So
just gonna do it. We're gonna do it live.
okay. So when you say import from Figma, are you talking about the layout, the style, or just the variables and then how Figma
We're
has things
just
defined?
talking about the
Okay.
variables in this case.
Okay.
So
All right. So let's just assume that maybe for this show, Catherine is the designer, I'm the dev, and I am completely messing it up. So she's like, I'm giving you stuff, do not change anything, right? So what am I looking here at the right? These looks like all of the UI components that I
yep,
could be
so this
styling.
is just about every component in our Kendo libraries or Telerik libraries.
And yeah,
So,
Blazor, so Telerik ones as
yeah,
well.
thank you.
So anything ASP.NET. Okay. So these are
Yep.
all, oh, wow, that's a lot of components in here. The gauges, the charts, the
Yeah.
progress indicators. Wow.
We have just
We have
about
a lot.
everything. I
Yeah.
think there's like one or two that are like where the libraries haven't quite caught up and like Angular has something but React doesn't. Those I
Yeah.
think haven't
Yeah.
necessarily been brought in yet, but the vast majority of our 100 plus components
Yeah.
are going to be here
Sure.
in the live preview.
Okay. And what are these things on the left here? If you can explain quick.
Yeah, so it's probably easiest to think of them as just CSS variables. So as you change them here, we've given them names, right? Like primary
Hmm.
or, whatever. As you're changing them, they will update live there in the panel. So
Okay.
maybe go ahead and swap out that primary blue with
Okay.
whatever. What's your Sands of Maui purple? Do you know the hex code?
Yeah, I do. Um, let's go back in here. Uh, we are a little bit organized. We also keep our styles in one place. Colors. Look at that. I have primary, I have secondary, tertiary, white, black, gray. Because like
That's so many more colors than I thought you had in that
yeah,
app.
secondary brush, tertiary brush, gray, and the reason we have to have this is because we have dark mode and light mode is kind of a bigger deal
Yep.
on mobile devices. You cannot mess that up, so it actually
Nope.
does some of it by itself. So yeah, that's my hex for my purple.
So
So you
yeah,
want me to
we
use that?
could yeah, we could copy those over right into the theme builder.
So if I go in here, edit palette, what am I looking at? This is the base color. How can I have it my own color? I'll
Um,
tap into this. Oh, I
there you
see.
go. Yep.
Ah,
Would you mind zooming in your screen just a
yeah,
little bit for me? I was looking and I realized I was squinting.
yeah. Okay, how about that? That
That's
good?
much better. Thank
All
you.
right. All right. So now it's purple. Close that.
Mhm.
Oh, it's updating.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So you can see, and it also went ahead and updated all those like shades that were underneath it. So
Ah.
you don't have to do all that by hand. It all comes in naturally. And as you scroll through those components, you'll see they're all now standard
Mm-hmm.
Maui purple.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, like look at that. The grid is purple. Yeah, all of
Mhm.
these that are purple. Nice. Okay, so when I'm looking at this, like, why do I have so many types of buttons?
Because if you were building a bigger app, you might need them all, right? So sometimes you need smaller buttons, bigger buttons, buttons that are filled in, buttons that are outlined. Think
I
about
see.
even just like a modal that has a confirm and a cancel. They tend to be styled differently,
I
right?
see. Okay, okay, but
So,
they're all rendered with the button tag, is what you're saying.
oh yeah,
So if
yep,
I okay, so if I use a button, then I can still style it, but it's all going to inherit from that one style. Um,
yep,
yeah, and what's this
yeah. So
live
any you're
preview?
using, you want to use the like the kendo component button.
Yeah.
Yep, but yes.
So am I already looking at the live preview? Like this is the live preview, right?
This is the live preview. You can
Okay.
tell because you can click on any of these, you can
Yeah.
open drop downs, you can hover
Gotcha. Yep.
buttons,
Yep.
see the state changes.
Yep.
The
Yep.
other tab that's up there is advanced edit. So
Hmm.
that's what I was talking about a little bit earlier, where you can dig in and make changes to specific
Oh.
parts of the CSS. So
So now it's showing me. Now, is this an HTML button or a Kendo UI button, or does it
this
not
is a
matter?
Kendo UI
It's a
button.
Kendo UI button.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
what this is for
advanced.
is, you notice when we made changes based on the stuff in the left-hand column, it applied to every component.
Yeah.
So we changed that primary color and it changed the primary
I
color
see.
on everything.
Yeah.
If we wanted to make a change to just the button or
Right.
to just one type of button,
Mm-hmm.
we could drill in here and say, okay, this type of button uses this
I
font,
see.
but this type of button uses this other font.
And how would
I don't know why you would do that, but you
you
could.
recognize, like, by class names?
Yeah, so it splits that out. We don't have to worry about it is the other nice thing. So
Oh, I
yes, if
see.
you were to open up the CSS, that would be handled via a class situation.
Okay.
But that export all button in your top right, the blue one,
Mm-hmm.
when you're ready,
Okay.
I'm sure we'll do this eventually later.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
will give you a minified CSS file or a SAS files
Okay.
that have the tokens and the like overrides basically split out.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about really how it's doing this on the back end. We can
Okay.
talk about it if you're
Yeah.
interested.
No. 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 I'm happy to know.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of the vibe that I got is, and most developers are that way where they're
Yeah.
like, "It is frankly none of my business."
Yeah.
So
Okay. So I get buttons. Now, what are some things? I'm trying to think. What can I use? I can start with the button. I can do some drop downs. So essentially, this is all meant for web apps. These are web UI,
yeah.
components. Uh, we are going to try to bring it to the native world a little bit, because like I was thinking, like initially when you looked at these buttons, I was like, oh, that's an iOS button versus that's an Android button, but that's not what you are talking about. These are just the same button
No.
in different ways. Yeah,
Right.
because like one of the things that Maui or Flutter or React Native will do is, I mean, if I pull up anything in here that has maybe a button, let's go to here, App Shell. So anytime I use like a label or a button in my native UI, these frameworks will turn around and they will render the native UI on iOS or Android, and they have different styles, unless you want to
Mhm.
override them. So that's a different game. But these are all web UI that we're going to render. Okay, so I changed just one color, and I see all of this other UI. Okay, before we go on, what happens when I do an export all? That's when the magic
It
is.
Yeah. I mean,
uh,
you can try it. It's just gonna download a couple files for you. You'll get them in like a
oh,
zipped folder.
oh, nice! It says Blazor Fluent. Okay, all right.
Mhm.
So let's go over here. Blazor Fluent. Unzip. And what? It's just a zip file. Why can't you unzip it?
I mean, you can.
I don't
I
understand.
can usually. I don't know. I don't know what's up with your machine.
Okay, let's try that again. No, it did it. Maybe it just was a bad import or bad export somehow. Okay, so I get a README. Not sure what's in it. I get a Blazor Fluent package.json. What is that? Kendo theme. What is that meant to do?
And that's mostly JavaScript stuff. Has
Okay,
a package JSON, which is
all
like a
right.
configuration type of file.
Oh,
You can
I
ignore that.
see. Okay, I see CSS and I see Sass. All right,
Yep.
I get it.
So
Here's the CSS.
depending on either one, the CSS is going to be your vanilla, like a minified
Ah,
CSS file. If you've added Sass, if you're using Sass, so you'll want the CSS.
yeah,
But for
yeah.
those of us that are on the JavaScript side using Sass, Sass files tend to be just a little bit more readable,
Hmm.
a little easier to manually edit if you need
Yeah.
to. So,
We can do Sass too. You know? It's
can
just
you?
yeah. So what's your
It was
favorite?
so defensive. We could do Sass.
Yeah. Uh, Scott is saying senior. Oh,
I
Catherine has
did.
been senior for a long time. Yeah, Catherine's
Not
awesome.
super lying. Yeah, this year. This is a 2024 situation. But yes, thank you.
So
Was
whatever
used.
is your pre-processing thing that makes your Sass getting, boil it down to CSS, you just have to do it before the MAUI build because the MAUI build
Mhm.
will need CSS. Okay, so what's in it? I see root. I see some themes. Oh boy, this is
So
a long file.
that's yep.
Wow.
So this is our Kendo these are our Kendo specific classes. And so
Ah,
what
I
it's
see.
doing basically is creating overrides. So this is the stuff that's different from our normal theme. So when you build with our component libraries, when you import our themes, you get a file like this and you're linking to a theme file.
Gotcha.
This is just the version of the theme file that includes the changes that you made in ThemeBuilder.
Okay. All right.
So
Okay. So let me actually start off fresh from not this project here. So we're going to close that. And I think there's some docs that I thought, I can actually go from the theme builder thing. Where was that? I saw the docs here. How to get started. Okay, so these are the theme builder docs that's telling me how to create a project. We did that, all that stuff. I thought I saw using the exported package. There it is. Okay, so
mhm,
you get an export, and then, oh, here it is. How to use the styles depends on your UI component library, can do UI Angular, Blazor, React, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's
yeah.
specific to each one.
So
So,
it's
yeah,
it's not going to be different than again like using a theme file.
right.
If you were using one of our like swatches
Yeah,
or some of the other style themes, that does differ by library, but it's
yeah,
not. Yeah,
yeah.
that I didn't put that well.
Yeah, it's a CSS, right? Okay, extract the zip archive and navigate to CSS. That's your minified. No, this is not minified yet, right? You can minify it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can modify it.
All right.
I was off. I think I said that incorrectly. You're
No,
right.
it's all good. So let's bump this up. Okay, so Telerik UI for Blazor. Let's try this. So that is just something you're going to put in a CSS. Looks like in the page host or index HTML. And that should be it. All right, let's start this. Actually, so Blazor, Catherine, what do you know about Blazor and then how it works?
Extremely little.
Okay, so let's start there for a quick second here. So,
Yeah, only what Ed has inflicted upon me while sitting at a conference booth together.
gotcha. So let's see. Where's the Blazor home page? Huh. No, Copilot. I don't want you to tell me what Blazor is. Let's do the .net, and then we can go to Blazor. Web, not ASP.NET. I want to go to just Blazor. Where's the Blazor? All right, get started. This is the docs for Blazor. Learn more about Blazor. Yeah, this is what I was up for. Okay. So, what is Blazor? Where did this start? Up until 20. Thank you, Deflux Streams. That's the one I was after. up until 2017. If you wanted to write, a SPA modern web app for your browser, you went to JavaScript. And a lot of .NET shops, Microsoft-based technologies, we did .NET pretty much in the back end. Excuse me. So then Blazor comes along and says, hey, you can do C# front and back as well. And this was, hold on, I'm trying to get my throat drops.
That's all right. I don't think you
miserably.
saw my AirPod just like fall right out of my ear 2 seconds ago. We're both struggling today.
Yeah, give me 1 second here. All right. I'll power through. Give me a throat drop. Okay. So Blazor is the .NET or C# way of writing .NET front and back. So it's meant for web apps. It's a web platform, but it does a whole lot of more things. So you can run it anywhere. You can be productive. So you don't have to do JavaScript if you don't want to. And Blazor has a few modes of working. So it can be completely server-side, in which case it's just like any other server-side, rendering technology, or it can be completely on the client side. We use a thing called WebAssembly. I was looking this up. So our good friend Ed wrote this article. WebAssembly has come a long way. But the problem is, like, you pay a little bit of a price because you are using .NET on the front end. So you do need to load up all of your dependencies up front. So they are trying to make this better. So you can have some interactive stuff. You don't need to wait for all of your libraries, all of your dependencies to load up before it starts working. So Blazor actually has some render modes now. Some of it is completely client-side, completely server-side, or a mix of the two. You can have some server-side rendering or pre-rendering. So things have come a long way with Blazor as well. So essentially, think of it as a way of writing .NET on the client side for those of you who don't want to write JavaScript, right? That's what it is. So let's start here. I'm going to go into VS Code, and we actually have a nice little template, which is you can start with the .NET templates as well. But this one is going to bring in UI for Blazor. So let's start here. And we can maybe, let's still start with the web app, and then we'll go to the native apps here for a second. So start there, project name, let's just call it Blazor Fluent, because that's what we named our CSS. Okay, so this is where you kind of see the differences. Is it a straight up web app, or is it a straight up WebAssembly app, or is it more of a server-side app, or is it a mix of the two? And then this hybrid thing, the hybrid gets very overused, but that's a way of bringing it inside of MAUI. So if you want to have some Blazor UI, web UI rendered inside of MAUI, you can do that fairly easily. So let's keep all of the same. Here, I'm going to select .NET 8 as my runtime, but I'm going to not choose Fluent. Let's keep it to default, and because then you can actually swatch, select your swatches here as well. But let's go with the defaults here for a second and see how that looks. This looks like it's done. Close that. Oh, it's still creating. Okay, and it's done. All right, so now we have a Blazor project. And this is going to be pretty standard stuff. If you chose the client one, I think you're going to get a single project. Here you get there's a server-side component to this. If you want to do some pre-rendering, this doesn't actually have much of the pages. Actual pages or components are here in the client-side project. So this is where you start. This is like your counter component. There's a home, and there's a weather component, and so on. So if I look at this one here, you notice the home razor. This is the index.html essentially. That is wired up. Where is that? Components, app.razor. So this is kind of where we build up the HTML, the DOM essentially. So say here's the head, here's your style sheet, here's your JavaScript references if we need any. Render mode is interactive, so it will do its thing between client and browser, whatever is automatic. And let's go ahead and run this really quick, and then you can see what this does. So let's go run this. Yeah, C#. Oh, what is this? It's asking where to run. Oh, it can do a local dev certificate as well, but let's go without. So HTTP only. It's trying to do a build. Is it done? Yeah, it's done. Oh, so this is the dev certificate thingy. I chose HTTP, but it still is wanting that. So let's give it that. Okay. It's thinking. There it is. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. It's still, even the Edge is my default browser. It still comes up in Edge because Microsoft. Yeah. So this is the default Hello World Blazor experience. You get this is the counter, by the way. This is that. So everything
Yeah,
is
yeah.
driven by just these 3 pages, right? So home, counter,
Okay.
the weather thing. If you do it all WebAssembly, it's just JSON powered. This is not making a web call, or you can have a service on your server side. So this home here, if I hit that say hello, it says hello from that, blah, 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 with the date timestamp. So this is not fluent, right? If I'm not mistaken, because I don't know much about the design system, but that doesn't look fluent. Like it's got an elevated look, like that's a button, but that doesn't look fluent because I don't think I chose the fluent style. So this one here is rendering a Telerik button with a certain, oh, it's bringing in some themes and some theme colors. That's where it's bringing the primary theme color. Okay, so what if we stopped this and we tried bringing in our stuff? So where was Edge? Let's stop that. And for me to bring that ThemeBuilder style in, let's close this. This one here. All right, so it said, go into your index.html or CS.html and just do that. Okay, we can copy that. That's all I should be able, or I should have to do, right? Let's go in here. So here is my Blazor app, and what it does is there is a theming here, but then AppRaiser brings in some styles. So it's using Bootstrap by default, and here's the app.css, right? And that is sitting in my www root somewhere here. So that's the button primary color. That's where Blazor is getting its stuff. So we don't want to use that. We want to use our thing. So let's comment that out. It is using a Blazor Fluent style.css. We don't want that either, right? Shall we get rid of Bootstrap as well? Yeah, might as well, because we have Fluent.
Yeah. We've got our own stuff going.
Yeah. So all of that is gone, right? And instead, we are going to say, hey, go, oh, this is wrong. So, oh, we actually have to bring that thing in.
We have to add the files.
Yeah. Okay. So this was my download. Going to CSS, and that is the Blazor Fluent.css. Copy that. And that was built, what did I call it? Blazor Fluent. Here, this one. So I'm going to go in here. There's my www root, apps CSS. We're just going to drop that in here. It's called Blazor Fluent.css. All right. So I don't need any of this. It can just be, case doesn't matter, right? Blazor Fluent.css, right?
Case maybe matters, right? Because it's the file path, right?
Yeah, but it's all small here.
Oh yeah, it's all lowercase there.
Yeah, lowercase here.
Yeah.
Now looks like we are pulling down a CDN, the Kendo theme. Should I get rid of that as well? Because that's the whole overall Kendo theme. Because I don't know what layouts we will mess up. Let's find out.
Yeah, let's try it and see how it looks. We might need to get rid of that. I don't tend to build products with the. So we lost something important.
We lost a whole bunch of things.
We lost
the layout. But no, I remember now. The button had its own theme, so that's what we lost. Okay, hold on. So the button had its own thing. Where is that button now? Here's that home, because the button used to pull in this theme color thing, which we don't want. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll admit I'm out of my depth out here in Blazor.
So this is the Kendo theme. How about we get rid of that? And it's losing its layout because of Bootstrap. But it's fine. Layout is fine. We just want to see our one button styled
Yeah.
our way. Oh, yeah. Okay, so see
There it
that
went.
that thing changed.
Yeah.
Now, why is it flat? Because that's how it's rendering. Because I didn't get the purple style.
Yeah, what's it look like in your theme builder? It might be, yeah, no, that's what it's calling. See the first button there in
This
your,
one, yeah.
yeah, so
So
that's
how
going to be your default button.
how do I
So,
get this button? Can I?
yeah, so usually, at least in Kendo React, that's setting your button like type. I don't understand how it works in Blazor, but in
Yeah, it should be
React, you can pass
similar.
like a property and you set different types of buttons.
Oh boy, I don't know enough about Blazor either to know what type
Hold
of
on, I'm
button
going to
that
look
would
up our
be.
Blazor docs.
Because it seems like this should be a styling thing, right?
It's
docs.telerik.com.
it's like a component customization thing.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna find our,
Components, I'm looking as well. Overview. Oh, there's type.
where's our doc? There we
There's
go.
render,
Okay.
so type, submit, button type. Oh, so can I just make it a submit button?
Yeah. Let's try it. I don't know how the Blazor types align with the theme
Yeah,
builder stuff. I don't know what they're called, I guess, in
button type
Blazor.
submit. Now, do I need to wipe out my cache or well, we'll see. We'll find
We'll
out.
find out. I don't think so, but maybe.
No, maybe. Cookies and side data. Oh, how do I wipe it? I thought there was a way from here to wipe, isn't it?
I
Oh, come on. History. Where's my cache? Oh, come on. Clear browsing data. I thought there was a thing in there. Cached images for last hour. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Clear. Go away. All right. So that's gone. Did I do this right? Button type submit. There's like a reset. Because I don't know what this purple button was, right? Is there a way to find out from the CSS?
I'm looking. So right, like again, it's sort of like, oh, it's weird, kind of react. You kind of react as a secondary button. And you just
Yeah, I don't
right.
know
So
what type of
like
button that is. Let's fire this up one more time, and we'll see.
yeah, you just get to put in like theme color is primary
Yeah,
or theme color is secondary in
yeah.
in React.
But I mean, it's doing something. Like that's clearly not the Blazor button type, so
Right.
it's going
It
off
is
style.
the lazy thing we could
Yeah.
do is go in and restyle it on the theme builder side and just give it a purple background
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
and not worry about it.
Yeah.
So
We can do that. Let's. So I would
yeah.
click
So
on that and go advanced edit. Right.
yeah.
That.
Advanced edit and then there. And then you should,
Where's
I
the
think it's
style?
already focused on that button. Yeah. So there should be, see the background option underneath your text and
Background.
it's set
Yeah.
to white right now.
Oh, I see.
So you'll want to change that. And our purple should be in this drop down option.
Yeah, Kendo primary. There it is. Okay.
So we could, and then you'll want to change your text color, which
Yeah.
is, yeah,
Where's the text color?
at the very top. So
Kendo neutral.
text,
This, that.
yep.
Yeah.
Swap that to like a white probably.
There we go. All right.
Here we go.
And I can just do back and it's saved. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's do an
Yeah,
export.
it saves automatically. So
Yeah.
lazy development.
Yeah. Hold
We'd love to
on.
see it.
And now I have to swap that out again. And I'm confused with what is what. So we're going to do that again. All right. Go back here.
Don't know Blazor, but I do know ThemeBuilder. So.
Yeah. All right. There is my Blazor Fluent theme, and it's unzipped.
It is a good thing Ed's not here. He would be laughing
He
at
will
us.
flip out. Yeah.
We can't figure out how to change a button type.
All right. So we're going to take that, copy that over to this other project. We called it Blazor Fluent client. root, get rid of that old one, and drop in this new one, and we should be good. Button type submitted, still fine. Run that. There it is. There it is.
Hey, see?
Oh, so
So
much to just change the button color. But we have, it's not just a button color, it's a
we
whole
got there.
design system we inherited, right? We lost the
Great.
layout, which I don't know how it's getting the layout, probably from Bootstrap somewhere.
Right. We could try turning the bootstrap on and see if
Yeah.
it overwrites. I'm curious now.
Yeah.
Like what else included in that bootstrap
So let's go
file.
back in here. We'll keep that Bootstrap, but we will knock out that.
Or is it an app CSS? What is an app
Um,
CSS?
Here's a body, excuse me,
Oh
content
yeah.
padding validations. No, it's not in app CSS. App CSS is pretty
Okay.
empty.
No.
So it has to be coming from Bootstrap. Yeah, let's run that again.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, no, we got some changes, but
No.
I think yeah.
But our button change overrode it, right? So we're still seeing
Yeah.
we can use those together and it would
Yeah,
still play nice.
yeah. Okay, so that is nothing awesome because that's just Blazor. It's meant to be. It's web apps. But what we want to do is change that up.
Who cares
Uh,
about Blazor anyway?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not here,
So
so we can say bad things. No, it's all good. We're going to use the same template, but now we're going to make a native app. We got 4 minutes. We can do this, right?
yeah, why not?
Okay, because it should be simple. So Blazor Fluent, let's just call it a native app. All right, everything else remains the same. Oh, we are going to switch this to a hybrid app. So now we're going to get a .NET MAUI project. So Blazor, we are choosing the render model to be .NET MAUI. .NET 6. I don't want to go that far back. .NET 7. Yeah, I don't know why there isn't .NET 8 in here. Still not fluent. I'm going to choose default. So that's fine. So this should spit out a .NET MAUI project. Go away. There. Okay. So now this is a native app, native with Blazor UI. So this one here should have all of the Maui things, right? So yep, there is your pages directory with all of the Blazor components. Everything is being loaded up in a web view. Here's your www root, and there is CSS, and that has Bootstrap in it. So we can replace that, right? So Blazor Fluent native app. Let's go in here. Excuse me, that's the app package. We're going to go in www root. Look at that. We are dropping CSS from ThemeBuilder inside of a native app. And I don't have that file. Let's grab that file from the other Blazor project, Blazor Fluent. Copy that. I'm going to the native app. There is that, www root CSS, and drop that in here. Okay. So now our native app should have Blazor Fluent.css. And this is being now wired up in index HTML as compared to AppRaiser for web assets. This should be in index HTML. So there is an app.css. What is that doing? This is the same app CSS that we saw in Blazor. So that's the Blazor button primary. Content has some padding, has some error UI, blah, 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 nothing else. Okay, we don't care about that. So we would rather go into index HTML. We'll keep Bootstrap, but instead of app.css, we would want that to be Blazor Fluent.css. Oh, look at that. Even IntelliSense catches up that I dropped a file. Okay.
That's nice.
This is also bringing down the Kendo theme. Should I keep that? Because we are not really.
Yeah, let's see. We might need to delete it because it looked like that had a swatch applied, but I think
Okay, well,
I think it will override.
let's get rid of it just to be safe. Okay. So now when I do a build, you're going to get an app package because now it's meant to run on iOS and Android and other things. So let's see, look at the CS proj here. All right, so this one here is, my fonts are too big. This one's meant to be on .NET 7, running runtime, Android, iOS, or Mac Catalyst. Let's do a Mac Catalyst because that's what's the default is selected here. So let's go ahead and fire this up. Now it's a MAUI app with Blazor UI.
Holding my breath. I have no idea what to expect. I have no idea if this is going to work or not.
It's going to come out as a Mac desktop app, hopefully, if it does build. It's thinking it's the first build, and it's actually doing a build for iOS, Android as well, because I did not turn those things off. But it's trying. Yeah, it's doing a debug build. Oh, there it is. Oh, yeah, look at
Our
that.
button.
A button. That's perfect.
Check that out.
So that is still a Telerik button, but it's inheriting that style design system that I gave it. And everything else looks the same because we didn't change anything else.
Yeah, if we'd wanted to in the future, I think, because you were talking about for your Sands of Maui app, so much of it is just the like basic HTML. If you want to switch over to the theme builder like super fast, I want to show you something and then we can wrap because I know we're like at time.
Wait,
you want to do something first?
Yeah. So just give me a second because I was going to see if I can style some of the other UI with this. So hold on, this is the index. Oh, this one's still using the theme color, but look at that. It actually overrode that. So even though I had it in place, it still took the style. So what I want to do is, let's see, I want to bring in a different project where I had rendered a whole bunch of
actual
Telerik
components.
Yeah, actual components, not a button. Telerik Blazor in Maui, and we're going to copy some UI because like some of the UI needs more things, but we don't need all of those things in here. So here's the Telerik button. I'm going to get a barcode in here. I'm going to get some card views and stuff like that. All right, let's copy that over into our existing project. What's it complaining? I don't want to install Visual Studio. So here's index.razor. We're going to come in right in here, hello string that can stay. No, we want to go above that hello string or below and paste all of that. So I get a Telerik card. I get a circular gauge. I get a date picker.
That's nice.
And all of this code is duplicated. So we're going to copy that over just down here and get rid of this other code here. Okay, so now it's a Blazor component, which has a little bit of code here running on the server. And then I have a card, I have gauges and other stuff. So I haven't done anything else. So let's see if I can run this. This might completely blow up in my face because I don't know
Only
what
one
else.
way to find out.
What other dependencies are there? Oh. It's trying to build. Oh, it's building. It's no errors. Oh, look at that.
Hey, check that out.
Look at that. Okay, so I got my purple button. That still says that. The barcode, there's nothing to style on the barcode. You don't want purple in your barcode, but that's a calendar control. And look at the colors here. That's all purple. And then this one's a date picker. So there's purple in there as well. This one's a gauge because I think the gauge has its own color. But look at that, the card, this is the Telerik Blazor card component. That one's already inherited our buttons. So just like that, I mean, we can drop in any number of Blazor UI and it's all going to light up with our new design system or style. Okay, it's progress, right? I can inherit from what you did. I can just, not have to mess with any CSS. I don't want to write CSS. Just give me what I need and I can style.
Yeah, it's nice because it's one of those where like it took us 2 seconds to change the color and the color does a ton in terms of like brand alignment, right?
Yeah.
Similarly for like a font, if you were to change the font as well, once you change the font, you change the primary color, you're already, I would say 3/4 towards design brand alignment.
Yeah.
If you have a designer who really wants to dig into like padding and margins and this and that and really go in and customize, they can do that in that advanced edit.
Yep.
But I like that there's room for both, where it's like, I just need my buttons to be purple, okay?
Right.
I'm like,
Yep.
done, sold.
Yeah, and some of the buttons, so some of the UI actually is smart. Like this one's in desktop, but I think if I, you see how this date picker drops down, because this is for mouse
Mhm.
and keyboard. But if I load up this same UI on a mobile device, which I think I can kind of simulate if I do this, because like notice how Bootstrap is in here, it kicks
Yeah,
that menu off to being a hamburger thing. But the same UI now, if I tap on this, now you get like a full screen. Like this is for
that's very
touch. Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
So the Blazor UI that we make is smart, so it recognizes how you're rendering things. Okay, we are already over time, but what was that one thing you were going to say?
Oh, yeah, can you switch us back over to the theme builder page, like, super
Yeah,
quick? I just wanted to point out, if you scroll, once you get there, all the way to the bottom of your live preview, like,
preview. Okay,
scroll those components all the way down.
all the way to the
All
bottom.
the way. There we go. See that box that's HTML elements?
Oh,
Those are your headers. So when you're doing your styling later for your Sands of Maui app, which is just pulling in web content, right? Because I know we don't have a ton of, there's not going to be Telerik UI
no,
components
no, it's
on
just
that
web.
page,
Yeah.
but you can still do your styles here. So you could set your fonts,
Oh,
you
I
could change your
see.
heading colors, you could change your link colors, you could, whatever to make it feel cohesive with the rest of your app. You don't have to have two separate CSS files.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I wanted to point out, and then we can
Okay.
call it.
Okay. No, this is good. So it's not just the UI components. You can also style like basic DOM things, headings,
Right.
anchors, text, lists. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. All right. So here's my whirlwind introduction into ThemeBuilder. I'm excited because it helps me do less. I don't want to mess with any of this. Just give it to me, and I will
Yeah.
use it, and I will honor what the designer has done and not mess it up. Yeah. Okay.
They'll appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Catherine, anything else we should mention? Like, if folks are interested in ThemeBuilder, they can just go start with ThemeBuilder. They can read up on all the docs here. Anything else you want to mention?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can check it out. I think we have a 7-day free trial, and then there's a couple of different tiers depending on what you need. So, right, if you're like Sam, you just want to color some buttons, you don't necessarily need that Figma integration. We've got a
Right.
level for that. Whereas, like, if you want to be collaborating, working, from Figma or working with your designer in ThemeBuilder at the same time,
Yeah.
there's a tier for that. So,
Yeah.
again, that's one of those. I think we do a really good job of meeting what I think are two pretty disparate needs with one product, and I know I'm, like, a little hyped up on it, but, like, I do think it's cool. So
It is indeed. It is indeed. And I mean, early days, we have big plans to see where we can, contribute more to the design story because this developer
I have
designer,
gotten
yeah, friction.
some really cool sneak peeks at what they're working on with ThemeBuilder, and it's, like, some actual, like, Figma to code stuff without having to worry about it. They're building in layouts, they're looking at AI integrations, like,
Ooh,
there's I'm just teasing, we got a while to go, but there's some neat stuff in the ThemeBuilder pipeline.
very cool.
So
Yeah. I mean, are you even cool if you're not doing AI these days? Like, you have to do
right, we
AI.
gotta say it. We gotta throw it in there somewhere.
It's like that chef with that salt sprinkle. Like, we got to sprinkle AI on everything. Yeah.
Little Salt Bay AI
Yeah.
sprinkle.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
This was a good introduction for me into ThemeBuilder. And as you can see, it's not just for web apps. I mean, it's squarely meant for web apps, but that same web UI can also light up your native apps just as fine. So,
It was a
uh,
good introduction for me into Blazor.
yeah. All
We all
right.
learned something today.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in and hope you stay well, be productive, and we'll see you around on another stream.